As he walked past the city's castle, he interrupted his return and climbed the stone ramp that led to the top of the wall. From there, he could see Africa in the distance. Someone had once told him that it was from there the Moors had come to occupy all of Spain.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. 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 Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
What you looking up for, God? I'm talking to you. Weed smelling like dead bodies, loving a shoot. Baby goats popping out for government checks. To the honorable moms, no disrespect. I'm not talking about the matriarch, but what the deadbeat dad, fake comrade, two-faced nigga. Stab you in your back multiple times. Homicides and manslaughter, a friendship on the rise. Watch the gods with pseudo doctrines, big shades. I stay back and listen to old school, stay sane. Around the gardens, always have a bag of crystals in demons' faces, amethyst missiles. Dirty Moors teach the factors will make you officials when study is beneficial.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Enslaved by your own, didn't listen to prophet. Now you're living in sin, one two but can't stop it. You made your bed, lay down, now you sleep standing. Notwithstanding in a dead status, birthright's abandoned. Rather stay dirty instead of turning your card in. Then take your fares off if you're not turning your card in.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Some of these things the young cats doing, or artists of these days are doing, you know what I mean, has nothing to do with the roots of where this thing started from. You know what I mean? It's like they go completely left field. You know what I'm saying? And mumble rap is one of the things that some cats are doing. That's completely left field, because it's like, how do you mumble rap? You know what I'm saying? Part of rapping is being lyrical.
Come on, you still wear hoodies for Trayvon. Death was sacrificial as dad the Mason. Not sure if you knew Satan or been in the coffin, but I know Muslim sons booby trap prints are often pulling carpets from under feet while they morphing. Acting like L. Jackson, Cosby, and Jordan. With dirty Moors, these new Moors don't take enough caution. Playing unity with them and end up on blocks for auction. We told you about conquistador clamps with King Alfred plans to clamp you in camps. Facing vaporization, no ovens. Every day of Aquarian years, know thyself summoned. You strapped to a mental bed with probe in your head, wishing you would have listened to what the Moor said. Read Ministry of Death surrounded by mourners. The cool breezes knowing rights when streets are saunas.
So how do you even achieve that if you're mumbling your words intentionally? You know what I'm saying? Or you adopt that as a style of mumbling your words. And at the same time, it just shows you how much of the mass public has been dumbed down.
Crystals make souls mischievous. That's when you're lost, trolling black Romans approaching in a wooden horse. No mirror, see a life block button for you guys. Using prophets' lessons I'm seeing through true eyes. Many truths are being revealed to combat true lies. The line in the sand is clear as blue skies. Watch the Jedi mind tricks, divisive weapons. Knowledge is water. Keep that away from gremlins, and it's symbolic. Pay attention when you see sevens and recognize the significance of seeing 11s. Take the good with the bad when the world gives you not. Felt the shroom even with nauseous gut rot. Flow so infinite, finite, comprehend it not. Shooting from the mouth using freedom of thought. Black lives only matter for mug and few shots. Rap got them like zombies, malfunctioning new bots.
You're able to be entertained by things you shouldn't be able to be entertained by. You know what I mean? And that's, hey, I mean, a person impressed by any piece of art or anything is they're gonna be entertained going to the peak of their intelligence.
Moorish World TV, huh? More like Asian World TV, you dig? Tired of all these Asian provocateurs slamming the rights.
I call y'all out. We call y'all out. Y'all out there.
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch them, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with that folly, taking you under. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch them, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with that folly, taking you under. It's a shame, man. You dirty Moors, man. Trying to equate legalese to law, man. How incompetent as you can be. But it ain't no stopping the movement, cause I got the front seat. Better get your mind right. Real more than about to highlight. Real more than about to hype. Y'all just looking for the limelight. If you were really studying, you would know who is who and recognize this is more. I ain't really think you died as discovered.
Y'all niggas on crazy.
They believe it.
Crazy. Yeah, I know this for sure.
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with that folly, taking you under. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with that folly, taking you under.
It's a shame, man. These dirty Moors, man. Watching all you dirties through the hairs that's crossed, man. Noble Jew, Ali, and Garvey met with Burner Cross, man. We solved the Negro problem with the Circle 7 Koran. Young Pharaoh prostitutes for the Moorish foreign substitutes. Using Sarah suit and Massad for their SETI institutes. Speaking lies, Mormons black is really from some Greek gods. Masonry is ancient Egypt, watch me speaking sleep spies. Wearing arms, wearing feathers, singing these tunes to you. F08 Sarah, Elena Bay couldn't lose to you. All Negro conscious movies, where were you at years ago? While we were studying occult and metaphysical. Bet not around. Now you slander, you bums of the town. Spellbound, you dirty Moors from a Washita burial mound. Send you to the background. Moors are in the front ground. Ready to defend the teachers. Anywhere is the battleground.
I smell an agent. You smell an agent. I smell an agent. This is our Morris. Here we go. You know how we do already. Canaanland Morris class. Pop-up class. So just got an email or just got a text message. These words are crazy. So what's going around Facebook right now, or some internet, whatever, BS, is that Temple Moors in Chicago, Mecca, are upset because Taj and Rami El Bey are going to Chicago to teach. That's how serious these Moors are. These Moors, that's how serious these Moors are. There's these individuals called Moors, right? These Moors are going to a place where they're not from to teach about Moors. And Moors there are mad. Remember, there's other Moors that are there, that those Moors who are mad at these Moors don't want to affiliate with, don't whatever, don't this, don't that. But they're not doing anything about the Moors who are right there. They're going to worry about these Moors coming from where they don't even live. Why is that? What are those Moors going to teach that these Moors are afraid people find out? What are they going to teach? And on top of that, instead of these Moors going at the Moors in their city, jurisdiction, town, county, whatever you want to call it, wherever they're at, how come those Moors aren't going at the highwayman who everybody there knows drop boxes off in the same community and have these people killing each other? They have the highest crime rate in the nation, corporate nation. Is it a problem right now? Because you people are supposed to be in the back from 100 years ago. Don't try to play now like some type of authority or whatever. You know, do your temple thing. It's cool. Nobody's not hating, but don't get mad because people where you're at aren't recognizing your work that you're doing there. And then some other people are coming from outside of where you're at and teaching, and instead of you recognize that, oh, these Moors are whatever, and then you connect with these Moors and show some Moorish unity, you're playing some BS about you're mad that they're coming there. But I just got that sent to me, you know, so I just wanted to put that out for the Moors so they could know how dirty it is. That there's these people out here who really want people to not learn for themselves. They want to keep them under them so that they can keep playing church. They can keep playing organization that is whatever. And the people don't have anything to show. People don't have a book to show that they got from them. People don't have anything. Not even getting any real lessons. Dirty. But it's okay because, you know, there has to be balance. So here we go. This is for Moors out there who they might see some stuff on YouTube because they like watching YouTube, right? So they're going to bump into stuff. Like, I don't personally use that as my learning stuff. That's my reference point for me to go research, or it's for entertainment. So when I start thinking like our people who are looking for this information, and I go to the search box, I put in what something they would put in, you know, Moors or Moorish or, you know, whatever, random stuff, see what comes up. Sometimes you get the repetitive, you know, Moors in Spain and da. But then sometimes you get ones where, you know, people don't put any tags on their stuff because they really don't want anybody to find it like that. You know, they're really not about, they're hoping you bump into their stuff. So we bumped into some stuff. And I sent it to one of the Moors today. And the Moor said that he's game for us to do a class, put out some information for our people. And, you know, use a Moor who has taken the position of making his place where he domiciles a library. And he just has books. He just has lots of books. He's always studying. So, you know, since he's studying books that he has, let's see, you know, what he's finding out when he went and researched about the topic at hand, Moors in Spain. Because, you know, people like to put out, you know, some perspective, but then you realize that not everybody who is speaking about certain things should be speaking. You're not going to go to the individual who doesn't know about plumbing and talk to him about plumbing. So you have to look at history the same way. You're not going to go to a Greek historian to find out about Egyptology, because he's going to tell you that the Greeks founded all this stuff, and he's not going to bring up any Egyptian anybody. So he's going to have a better idea of the foundation of those guys that are claiming they're the founders of something. So if you want to know about Moors, please do yourself a favor. They might be dirty, whatever, doesn't matter. But make sure you ask them more. Don't ask the guy that kind of says Moorish stuff. Don't ask the guy that, you know, sitting on the thing and he has a fez on and like, you know Moors because Moors give you information, because Moors are the founders of civilization. So our duty is to teach people. That's just what Moors do. Whether they're beasts of the field, whether they're Moors taught lions, Moors taught hyenas and chimpanzees and everybody else. Moors taught everybody. Because we're founders of civilizations. So we have to have a relationship with everything. Every religion is our religion. Whoever took it and called it whatever they call it today, hey, you know, just go check the science. You see, it goes right back to the history of the Moors and the ancient Egyptians. That's just what it is. Nothing to get mad about. So we'll get kicked off. There's a lot more.
Islam, Grand Sheikh.
Just while I pull up this video, just put your appellation on the record, and if you want to intro with anything since you watched the thing already.
No problem. I'm Brother Navi Bay, and I just happened to, you know, run across this bit of information, and just by turning it on and listening to the brother, I was just like, wow, like, is he serious? Because, you know, I was just sitting here, you know, and I was like, wow, man, that's crazy. And it was like over 5,000 people, I don't know, he had 5,000 subscribers and like I think over 1,000 views already or whatever. So it's like, that's crazy.
All right. So we'll start up, and there might be some oh yeah, there's a lot more. I was on mute. So yeah, there'll be some other parts that we might stop at or whatever. But again, the whole point is to give you from the Moors' perspective, because we are the founders of civilization, not the black guys, not the African guys, not the indigenous Aboriginal guys, not the black Indian guys, not the Hebrew Israelites. None of those guys are the founders of civilization. Everybody recognized ancient Kemet, but nobody recognized where the stuff went after Kemet. Everybody avoids where the stuff went after Kemet. It went into the hands of the Moors. Why are you fighting it? How are we not Moors? How are we everything else but Moors? How are we only pulling up the negative of Moorish history all the time in order to detach ourselves from it? So we're going to let him spiel, and we're going to interject at times.
So for the people who are watching this, you guys are watching it first, so I just want to say thank you, because you guys donated, so you get the next level lecture before anybody else does. And I'm not even releasing this lecture until this lecture actually gets dropped and gets in you guys' hands. So, you know, I appreciate everybody. If you're watching this first, you know that it takes a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of research to put this stuff together. So when we left off last time, we were in the year 1711, and we were talking about the Moors, and they're just now starting to get over into the Iberian Peninsula and into Europe. So moving back, before we go there, there are a couple of things that I think we need to make clear concerning the history of Islam, the Moors, and Europe, okay? Because we're all talking about the same history. This is world history. This is just their variation of history because the other part of the world didn't exist or wasn't written about, or was it? So even before we go there, understand that Rome was not in control of Spain at the time that the Moors ruled. The Visigoths were. As a matter of fact, they were just another version of Christianity, and they were kind of rivals with Rome. And throughout the centuries since the first fall of Rome in 376, up until the time that the Moors ruled, they actually started to assimilate into each other's culture. Then here come the Moors. So here come the Moors. When I say the Moors invaded Europe, understand that means Muslim for the context of this. But when we're talking about...
All right. So when we say the Moors invaded Europe, we're talking about Muslim. You have anything to add to that, more?
When he's talking about us being in Spain or going back to Spain, weren't we already there at one time before?
Islam.
So right there, he's already off base saying that we're going to a foreign place, like we're just revisiting where we always been.
Now, when you say we've always been, is there any do you have any immediate book references or authors that people could check?
You know, one of the things that I had sent were I was referencing the Grimaldi, which were some of the first Europeans. And these Europeans, the Grimaldi, you can find this reference in the book 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, Brother J. Rogers. And in this book, it says it's titled Ancient Civilizations. And it speaks about the Grimaldi being a Negro race that lived in Europe as late as 12,000 years ago. So 7-11, that's not 12,000 years ago, am I correct?
Islam. Now, the other thing is that this idea of Moors being Muslim, and we want to make reference, since he brought up Muslim, just want to put on the record Noble Drew Ali's article, What is Islam? Just so we can get a true perspective from a Moor, opposed to a brother just out here, you know, trying to get some donations and trying to put out this, you know, information. It's so hard to do this or whatever. Just so we could have an idea about what Islam is. So you're not caught up in thinking that Moors are connected to some running around some cube, that ain't no imams running around, no grand muftis or whatever running around no cube. So you see, there's a difference. And also you can get the first Sufi of Islam. Go look into that book so you can see that Muhammad wasn't some Muslim. So you're not caught off base, like people pretending they're scholars. When again, this is not knowledge pissing contest. This is putting out the proper information so our people could learn the truth about the Moors, not some try to get views perspective about the Moors. Noble Drew Ali, what is Islam? Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duty toward God Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything. Peace with man. How hard is it for these people to find peace with the Moors? How hard is it? It's hard because they're caught up in post-traumatic slave syndrome, which is not because of what happened on some transatlantic whatever. It's because you're believing that BS over here. And you think that being Moors has nothing to do with you. Being Moors has to do with these guys over across the Atlantic Ocean who helped the Arabs and the Europeans go into power because they taught them. Disrespecting your own simple faith, Islam. I self-law am anything that any of these Muslims could come and say about they know what Islam is. And then as soon as you drop it on them, they'll realize, oh yeah, you're not Muslim, you're Muslim. You're a mystic of Islam. You're not a Muslim. And once they realize that, then they'll have no questions. They're not debating anything with Sufis about what Sufis believe and why don't Sufis run around stuff. Do you recognize the same swirling dervishes is what these people are doing running around the cube? One is a physical representation, one is spiritual. Them running around the cube is them giving energy to whoever made them run around the cube. That's the energy that's on. Then the swirling dervishes spinning around is opening vortexes. Because you go into a trance state if you can meditate while spinning in a circle. Just go research the swirling dervishes. So don't ever think that when you hear these people who think they know something about Moors, talk about Moors or Muslim, that they're talking about some running around the cube, whatever. They know Muslims are over here. They know Muslims in that time that were Moors running around some whatever. They were mystics. They were high priests and metaphysicians, occultists. They weren't these laymen that you're talking about that following some BS religion. Muhammad is the solar system. And they're talking about don't paint pictures of some guy because he's honored by God or whatever. No, because you can't paint a picture of the universe.
Can I interject real quick, Francis?
There's a lot more.
The completion of Ma'at, Islam. The founder prophet of Islam was not the first prophet to teach Ma'at, order or orderly submission. Rather, he was the seal of the prophets. Khatamu Nabi. The Holy Quran is not the first revealed book, but it was the final revolutionary book of God, the term completion of Ma'at. And reading that, that just shows that Islam, Ma'at, going back to the quote-unquote Egyptian, that's around before Prophet Muhammad, am I correct?
Right. There's a lot more.
That was from Ancient Feminine Islam and the Correct Preservation of Ma'at by Brother Cosmo L.
Put that book name out again.
Ancient Kemet Islam and the Preservation of Ma'at, the missing link between Kemetic and Moorish civilization by Brother Cosmo L.
Islam to the Moor, Cosmo L.
about Moors and people are talking about the dark-skinned people from Africa. They're talking about the Berber people who assimilated into Islam.
You got one for this one? The Berber? So
Right.
So this is people's perspective, right? That there's these people called Moors, then there's these people called Berbers, then there's these people called Arabs, then there's these people called whatever. But that's not a reality in ancient times. That's a reality today when you're playing color code system and all that BS where you think everybody's their skin color. But that's not the mentality of the ancient times. Because there was no color code system back then like that. That these people are using today, trying to infuse that into ancient knowledge and then have everybody lost. Don't know who's who. Seeing all these different names and start talking about people's skin color means who they are. Go ahead, Moore.
And dealing with the Berbers, you can go to page 4 of Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan Van Sertima. And he'll tell you about the original Berbers, who were called Moors, were the North African ancestors of the present dark brown and brown black peoples of the Sahara and the Sahel, mainly those called the Fulani, the Tuareg, the Zenagha, and that's spelled Zenagha, of southern Morocco, Kunta, and Tabu, of the Sahel countries, as well as other black Arabs now living in Mauritania and throughout the Sahara. And again, that's Golden Age of the Moor, page 4, Ivan Van Sertima.
Right. And that's a scholar. That's a scholar. Matter of fact, put that one out again one more time.
Page 4, Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan Van Sertima. And he states that the original Berbers, who were called Moors, and the M is capitalized, were the North African ancestors of the present-day dark brown and brown black people of the Sahara and the Sahel, mainly those called the Fulani, the Tuareg, the Zenagha of southern Morocco, Kunta, and Tabu of the Sahel countries, as well as other black Arabs now living in Mauritania throughout the Sahel.
Islam. That's a scholar. That is a scholar. How you know about scholars? Oh, actually, let's talk about that for a sec, boy. How do you know what books to buy or get or whatever? And where do you get most of your books from?
Well, first of all, to get my books, I always look in the books that I have. And I look in the index, I look in the bibliography, and I just look for certain titles of certain books. And no matter, like, through doing this over the years, no matter what book it is, they all seem to correlate. They're all saying the same thing. And I don't, like, how can you say it? I don't judge, based off the complexion of the author about the information, Mm-hmm. And most of my books that I get, it's actually, like, it's funny, more. It's a European lady. And she actually saw me wearing my fez at the flea market one day. And she saw me, I went over to her little stand or whatever. And she just giggled. She said, "Hey, my husband used to wear one of those." Right? And I kind of laughed at her. I just said, "Yeah, I bet his pastor was tied down." And she looked at it. And from then on, she slid me something. And the book she gave me, it was like a book from 1886 or whatever, like a real old book, more. And like ever since then, I go there and like her husband, he's transcendent or whatever, and she gives me books, man. Like this lady gives me books that I could never find anywhere. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like it's like every Saturday I go down there and she gives me books. Like this, a European lady.
And is are the books like ranging in topics or specifically related to because you had that head where like her husband had?
I would say it's related, excuse me, related to the head where her husband had, because it's mainly dealing with like government, from government to law to history. Like it's no like books as far as like
yeah.
novels,
right on magazine.
Yeah,
Jet.
none of that stuff.
The source. Yeah, that's crazy. No, what's the what would you say is the spiritual message in that?
I would say that if you are then who you are, whatever you're looking for is going to be given to you. I mean, I really trust in that. Like, if you're sincere, it's going to be revealed to you. Ain't no doubt of contradiction about that. And it can come from anywhere, if you understand what I'm saying.
Islam.
Between the centuries of the precipice until 7-Eleven. So the Moors of centuries ago aren't the same Moors that even black people are talking about today. You know, a lot of people like to implicate Moors as race traders, and in many ways, you know, the imagery has been pushed like that. But you know, here's what you have to understand. By the time that the Moors were race traders, they had been assimilated into Europe, and what you're seeing is basically slave soldiers. So yes, I guess they were, but they weren't working. It wasn't like they were an independent Moorish African entity. So
Islam more. You have anything for that?
Part about race and how were we slaves? If you get the book, they were white and they were slaves. It specifically tells you who the slaves are. There's another book called Moorish Harem. Moorish Harem. Harem. And in this book, it tells you about what we were doing to the women, because you know that like women were the first slaves. And it's crazy that in this book, these two guys who were selling this book, they were arrested. Like it says this on the back of the cover more. They were arrested for giving this book out.
Wow. Then here's another reference point with regard to Moors not being connected to any African civilization or whatever. Stanley Lane Poole, The Story of the Moors After Spain. Page 21. It remains to explain how it was that the Corsairs were able to possess themselves of this convenient territory, which was neither devoid of inhabitants nor without settled governments. North Africa, the only Africa known to the ancients, has seen many rulers come and go since the Arabs under Okba first overran its plains and valleys. The only Africa known was North Africa. And at this time, we're looking at the time of the Corsairs, or the quote-unquote Berbers, which Berber is Moorish. Berber is not some pale Arabs. It might appear that Berbers are like that today. But during the time of the expulsion of the Moors, there was no half-breeds yet. Anybody who was quote-unquote half-breed was quote-unquote red bone.
So you got to be careful. Remember, Europe is still controlling the Islamic doctrine. So even though you see these Muslims who are coming out of Mecca and they made it all the way to the Iberian Peninsula, remember, they're still being under the control of Rome. Remember Khadijah, remember Waraq, okay? Now, you also got to remember that at that time, Rome was actually sending agents to propagate this great Arab Messiah.
You talk about this more with Islam being Roman?
Of course, we'll go to the book of Ancient Future, right, by Wayne B. Chandler. When we pursue antiquity's record, we discover that man's greatest empires rest on the foundation constructed and created by the genius of woman. This has especially been proven standard in African and African-derived civilizations. Civilization itself was born, nurtured, and brought to maturity among the matriarchal African cultures of Kush and Egypt. The principal cultures of Western Asia, Sumer, Babylonia, and Achaea, were firmly matriarchal. Before the Islamic area of the 7th century, even the Arabian Peninsula was at the present culturally committed to the subjugation of the woman, was matriarchal for 2,500 years. The Islamic Allah was originally Alat, one part of the trinity of a goddess that included Kori or Ori, the virgin, and Al-Uzza, the powerful. Together, they formed the triad known as Manat, the threefold moon.
Furthermore, hold on, boy. Hold on. Start that one over. Start that one over. Oh my God.
The Islamic Allah was originally Allah, one part of the trinity of the goddesses that included Kori or Ori, and Ori is spelled O''re, the virgin, and Al-Uzza, the powerful one. Together, they formed the triad known as Manat, the threefold moon. Furthermore, pre-Islamic Arabia was dominated by the female-centric clans. Marriages were matrilocal, inheritance, matrilineal. Polyandry, several husbands to one wife, was common. The most powerful of these dynasties to arise in southern Arabia, known as Arabia's Felix or Happy Arabia, were the Sabians, a strong matriarchal empire descended from the Kush or Ethiopia.
Descendant from the Kush or Ethiopia?
Or Ethiopia, correct.
Right. So there it is too. That just like how they put Negro and then Moor and then Black and then Muslim and whatever, the same way they're doing with Kush and Ethiopia. Everybody knows it's really not Ethiopia. Those people are really Kushites. Not really Ethiopian like that. You got anything else more?
That's it.
All right.
Think about that. Now you got Muslims, black people, and white people talking about an Arab Messiah created out of thin air in Rome, okay, or by Rome, created in this area that they're trying to create as a false Jerusalem, and we're still, you know, for those of you who are a little more advanced, you understand where Jerusalem is, and you know. So the model of this map is based off the New Testament. Our chronology is based off the New Testament. Year 0 is based off Jesus' birth, but it also is based off like the birth of our ignorance as well. So moving along, the Visigoths ran that area in the Iberian Peninsula from 376 to about 711. And throughout that time, they assimilated into Rome. So by the time the Muslims, aka the Moors, get into Spain, the Visigoths have total control, and they got a little bit of Roman. Yeah.
With regard to what you were saying earlier about the Moors already being there, and the idea of you know, the Moors went into Spain. Was there a Spain based on your research?
There wasn't a Spain at the time that they're calling it Spain. According to my research, it was Al-Andalus. And Al-Andalus being an appellation of the Moors. We named it that. There was never a Spain, if you want to go even further. Spain became to be known as Spain by edict issued from a pope. And I think it's Pope Philip II, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Change everything from Moorish to be Spanish. So it never was really a Spain or Spanish per se. That's modern.
Now when you're looking at this idea of when they say Moors in Spain, and then you're in the Americas though, how do you tie yourself that you're a Moor but you're all the way over here? Because they also like to say that, you know, when they're talking about Moors, they're only talking about Moors over there. Like how do
That
you
would be
connect?
like,
Yeah, how do you connect Moors to being over here?
Pardon me. That would be like you being in so-called Canaanland and me being here in so-called near Warman. We're still brothers. We're still family. Just because there's distance between us, that doesn't change my bloodline. That doesn't change my pedigree. So the same quote-unquote Moors that were there, or if they want to say that they went back into Spain, that's my family. So the same Moors that were there in Spain are the same Moors that were here in the Americas. And there's evidence of us being here in the Americas if you just go look at pyramids and things that were left here. The things that we were doing in Spain, we were doing over here simultaneously.
Now, what do you have as far as like some perspectives or even some book references to connect the story of dark-skinned people being on this side, that, you know, there were people already over here too?
One book is called Ancient Mysteries in America. Excuse me, The Mysteries of Ancient Americas. The New World Before Columbus. That's the title of it. Of course, the book by Ivan Van Serma, they were here before Columbus. There's another book called Moors in America, a compilation by Brother Victor Taylor L. and Sister Tauda Nadia Ulael. This whole compilation, and it leads to evidence of us being here. Then you get in the books to where they change the names, meaning like mound builders. They're still talking about us. Places in Poverty Point, they're still talking about us. The Atlantis, they tell you this in the Atlantic or in the Pacific, and some people say it's in Mexico. They're still talking about us. So there's a book called Atlantis in Mexico that talks about us being here. There's a book called The Forgotten Civilization. There's a book called The Giants Who Ruled America. All these books tie us as being in the Americas. Like hundreds and hundreds of times.
Islam, and I was just, right before you said it, I was going to say also A Tradition of Giants by Ross Hamilton. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. There's also a book called The Advanced Civilization of Prehistoric America. Now you have to look at the title of that book more. An advanced civilization of prehistoric America. That means this civilization was advanced before they even started recording history. You follow what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's another book called Voyages of the Pyramid Builders. The true origins of the pyramids from lost Egypt to ancient America. So when we're saying ancient Egypt is over here. For all our black people. And you can find that reference to whether the brothers agree with the brother or not. And the book When Rocks Cry Out by Brother Horace Butler. Just do the research.
No. What do you mean by whether they believe him or not? Isn't he a brother scholar?
Yeah, he's a brother scholar, but when the brother doesn't agree with their narrative, they want to tend to X him out.
Okay, hold on. So let's just discuss. All right. Speaking about Horace Butler and his book, like what did you get from his narrative that they're against?
That we were here first. That we were here first in the Americas, and the Egypt that everybody glorifies was moved from here to over there. That's the narrative I got. That we're the American, the Aboriginal here, and that there never was a point where everything just started, but if you want to say that, it was more so on this side as opposed to being on that side. That's the narrative I got from his book.
Wow. Now, in was there any other research that you found other than Stolen Legacy about that connection between the Egyptians and the Moors?
You said, was that the only book?
Yeah, was that the only reference point? That because other than that, what I mean that I think David Imhotep's book, I think, talked about it a bit or made a reference to it. But yeah, was there anything to tie that, or if not, the Moors and the Egyptians, or the Moors and the Hebrews, or the Moors and any of the other schools of thought that would say that they're not Moors?
You saying that is there any other books that would tie us together, saying that we are Moors?
Yeah.
As opposed to not that. Yes. You can go to the book that Chosen People of the Caucasus. Chosen People from the Caucasus by Michael Bradley. And the interesting thing about Michael Bradley is he's the author of another book also, so where he's saying how about the European psyche and whatnot. And this is a European author who's making the connection that the Hebrews are the same, but they can just call them the lost tribes, the lost 10 tribes of the Indians, lost 10 tribes of the Indians, then the lost 10 tribes of Israel. And when they're saying Indian, there's no such thing as an Indian. We're the actual Indian. And to back up that point, there's a book, let me get to type up the name of it real quick, that supports that. This book is called A New Age Now Begins. And in this book, it specifically tells how there is no such thing as an Indian. And it specifically says that the Moor was bleached out in 2 generations, through the so-called mixing and amalgamation. And the title of the front of this book, it has our pyramid on it.
Wow. So there's definitely a connection. There's definitely there's definitely a connection that our people need to make with regard to Moors, because they would say that they're Hebrews and Egyptians and all these things, but then say that they're not Moors, when based on what you're telling us, you found out in your research that there's definitely a connection. You can't separate the two.
can't separate the two, because just because you speak a language, it doesn't mean that that's who you are. You and I are speaking a form of German now. We're speaking Old High German. That doesn't make us German. We would never call ourselves an Englishman. Right. Am I correct? I would never say, hey, Brother Kuzo's an Englishman based on what he speaks. So just because you speak a version of what you think Hebrew is, that doesn't make you the language. That's just a language. Right. It doesn't change your bloodline, your pedigree, your consanguinity. So once you get the concept that we were everywhere, we're the same people, just how you have a brother and sister in your house today who moves away and you're still connected, that's the same formula. It's never changed.
Yeah. All right, get back to this thing. Oh yeah, and then the only reason, because we weren't even gonna do anything, and then when he said Islam, the bastard of Rome, I'm like, oh no. That's you're trying to diss Moors. You're not playing scholar or teach people. You're playing kick maul.
What's his nationality? Nasheed?
Oh, I don't know, but he looks like a Moor. I don't know what he calls himself, but to me, he looks like a Moor.
Well, he's going to tell us something. No problem.
A little bit of a Roman influence there. Now, Rome isn't the powerhouse that you think it is. It's kind of teetering at this moment. And really, this Muslim rule in the Iberian Peninsula kind of initiates Rome's power. And we'll get into this. I'm going to show you why. So at the very same time, around this time in the 7th century, 711, the time that these Moors came, this is the exact same time that those Khazarians, who during those crusades between Christians and Muslims in the Middle East and the Black Sea region, the Caucasus region, the Caucasus Cave region, the Caucasus Cave Khazars, the KKK, you know what I'm talking about. So the Caucasus Cave Khazars in that region, when faced with the squat up or shut up possibility, they became who? They became Jewish. So they ended up trickling their way down into Spain, right? But they're Jewish, but these were the Sephardim. And for anybody who has understood a little bit of history, they have these conversos. Now, a converso is someone who basically is, they appear to be...
Islam, more. Go ahead.
He talking about a converso. Wouldn't that be a Morisco?
Right.
I'd like to read the definition of Morisco. Coming out of
Please do.
Encyclopedia. It's coming out of Encyclopedia Britannica, 1768. Morisco. Give me a second. Moriscos, pejorative, form of Spanish, Mordos, and in quotation marks it's got Moors, and the Moors capitalized, or Muslims, the name given to the Spanish Muslims who accepted Christian baptism and to their descendants. The new Christians were never accepted on equal terms by the old Christian neighbors, from whom, however, they were racially indistinguishable, for most of them were descended from converts to Islam. Moriscos. So they're still Moors.
Now could you check? Okay, let me ask you this first. Are Jews pale Europeans or not dark-skinned people, or like what? When they say the Jews and Moors of Spain got expelled, what does a Jew look like to you?
A Jew could be any complexion. Because you have, quote unquote, Moorish Jews. So the one that's claiming to be a Jew, he's not the original. That's why he's the Jewish.
Now, would you say that the Jew or the Jewish was the one who got expelled with the Moors? Because if you're saying that the Jew is the original and the Jewish is the subordinate Jew, I never, ever read anywhere that it said the Jewish got kicked out of Spain with the Moors. They always said the Jew.
Correct.
So would you connect Jews in this time frame to dark-skinned people? And could you relate Jewish to the Hebrews and how they're Moors?
The Jew is us, because the Jew is a made-up name. It's relatively modern. It's the Yahudi, and it's quote-unquote tribal. So we're the Jew, and the ones that started with us were expelled out with us. The Hebrew, who is family, it's just our family who came from another place. You know, one who crosses the river Euphrates. So it's just the action that we did. Again, it's not changing your bloodline, your descent, your consanguinity, your pedigree. We're just giving different names to the same people.
Now, do you think that's an act of European psychology or Black scholar psychology, or a bit of both?
It's both. The European knows that we're the Jew, and the so-called Black scholar, he wants to be anything but a Moor. This is just my humble point of view.
Yeah.
But if you give me a second, I'm looking for this other dictionary, and it tells you in this dictionary that there's really no such thing as a Jew itself as well.
Yeah. So that's just that. So in making reference to Jews, that in itself is coloring the language and whatever's being told.
Correct.
Now, what has there been any information you found out about the fake Jews, like what their origin is?
The fake Jews' origin that I found is that they're so-called Neanderthals. And that's in the book Chosen People from the Caucasus.
Chosen People from the Caucasus.
By Michael Bradley.
Oh, that's the same. Yeah, Iceman Inheritance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can I read something to you?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Mark.
This right here is from a Encyclopedia Britannica, and it states, Jew. The Jews as a race. The findings of physical anthropology show that, contrary to the popular view, there is no Jewish race.
Wow.
You want to read it again?
Yeah, read that again.
The findings of a physical anthropology show that, contrary to the popular view, there is no Jewish race. Then it comes over here and it tells you like where the word Jew is derived from, like the Latin, the Greek, the Hebrew, and so and so.
Yeah.
So because there's no only one race, how can there be a Jew?
Yeah.
Because that's not the people. You follow what I'm saying? That's just something to brand them, to label them.
Right. I was going to read this reference point too from the 13th Tribe, Arthur Koestler. How did this twin phenomenon, diversity in somatic features and conformity to the host nation, come about? The geneticist's obvious answer is through miscegenation combined with selective pressures. This, writes Frischberg, is indeed the crucial point in the anthropology of the Jews. Are they of pure race, modified more or less by environmental influences, or are they a religious sect composed of racial elements acquired by proselytism and intermarriage during their migration in various parts of the world? Right, the 13th tribe. You got any other references, Mark?
Yeah, I got another book to put out there. It's called The Story of the Jews by Simon, and I'm gonna spell the last name, Schama. The Story of the Jews, and the history that it's going back to is the story of the Jews finding the words 1000 BC to 1492 AD.
Wow.
A Muslim, but they're still practicing Jew in secrecy. We call us conversos, just like Catholics did it, just like they say Christopher Columbus did it, just like a lot of the ruling families in Saudi Arabia and Turkey are under the same thing, the Ottoman Turk stock. So anyway, getting back to that, we have this city called Granada, one of the cities in Spain.
What you got, boy?
No, it's just the way he's just like, when he can't give that, he just like get real low in his voice and try to smooth it over real quick. Like, what is he talking about?
It's actually the last city to fall before Rome took back over from the Moorish Empire. I think it's important to stress that during the time that the Muslims came into Spain, the Moors were the ones who were actually doing all the work, all the hands-on work. So when they're talking about the Moors, they're talking about the North African tribes from the Sahara, from the not just the Sahara region, but all the way really to West Africa. So you got to understand, at this time, it was very easy to get swept up in, I guess, the theater of Islam, because it was sweeping. It literally swept that side of the world.
No, just go back again. Let's go back again to what is Islam. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet Noble Juali says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. Object of man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. You have anything on the Islam, Mark?
Yeah. Give me a second.
And so what the people really have to understand is that when you hear Moors say Islam, do not have in your mind what you see some people with hijabs and whatever doing. That's not the same stuff.
Islam, more.
Islam.
Ma'at is performing one's natural and divine obligation by way of a ritual, prayer, fasting, good action, etc. This in turn unites heaven, man, and earth woman, or in other words, it establishes a harmonious relationship between humanity activity. Ma'at then is Islam, peaceful submission for the benefit of the micro as well as the macro society. The ethical ties which created harmony between human forces, giving purpose to our earthly existence.
Wow.
So Ma'at in Islam is one and in the same. Balance. When you have balance, you're at peace. Peace being one of our principles.
Islam. So with Islam really being peace and really being balanced, this is what these people are. They start bashing on Moors. When they start bashing on Moors, know that they're against peace and balance. They're against harmony. They're against love and truth. And there's no way that they can be red, black, green, and all that and be against peace. Remember, Deuce Muhammad Ali taught Marcus Garvey. Deuce Muhammad Ali was a Moor. And he taught Garvey. You were talking about Allah and Allahu Akbar and all that in the UNIA. You were talking about pray Allah, please praise Marcus Garvey and all that. So know that there's a lie being told to try to keep you away from your spiritual birthright. Your spiritual birthright. Our religion of Moors, as Moors, is Islamism, not Islam. Our religion is Islamism. And Islam for Moors is what we are. I self-law am master. I am that I am. In propria persona. In full life. Not civilly dead, not a ward of the crown or the state.
Islam, more.
Islam, more.
The Islamic religion. Faith was cement with which Muhammad unified Arabia. The new faith was called Islam, the Arabic word for surrender. Muhammad taught that his followers must surrender to the will of Allah, the single almighty God of the universe. Allah's attributes of love and mercy were overshadowed by those of power and majesty, and the greatest good was therefore not to love God, but to submit to his command. Muhammad was not regarded as divine. Rather, he was the last and the greatest of a long line of prophets of whom he was the seal. Among the predecessors were Moses, the Old Testament prophet, and Jesus. Islam respected the Old Testament, the Old and New Testaments, and was relatively tolerant toward Jesus and Christians, the people of the book. But the Muslims had a book of their own, the Quran, which superseded its predecessor and was believed to contain the pure essence of divine revelation.
How could you hate on that? Like, do you think that these people just miss something in their studying, or they have motives or something? Because we're just talking about an hour. We probably put about 20 books out already. And there's no way that people who are studying aren't bumping into this. Like, what would you call it? Islam.
It's incompetence, man. Like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. And this is somebody who doesn't have an agenda. Like, I was never like a pro, anything. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I was just always been open to information, man. And once I got on this wave, brother, it's just like, how can you read certain things and they're not sinking in? Like, I don't have a word for it. So you have to have an ulterior motive. If you're presented that you know something about it more, and you're going to say something negative about it. Because there's no way you can profess to know something about it more and talk against yourself. No way.
I'm not going to go too much more. We're not going to go too much more. But let me see what else you got to say.
And you're talking about oppressed people who actually were offered opportunity as soldiers and offered opportunities that they didn't have before. Because now you can make something of yourself. You know, people look at war differently. Like, you know, today it's, you know, kids go to war, they're not thinking about glory. You know, they're not thinking about, you know, in many cases they're thinking about, hey, you know, this is a finite amount of money that I know can support me. But, you know, back in the day, like, you know, sometimes it was okay for these guys to go to war and become somebody else. Because once you conquer a land, do you know the spoils of war are greater than any job that you can imagine? Go kill a few people somewhere, and you will get more than 40 acres and a mule. Just go ask any European, because they're still living off that bullshit. So for a lot of these
that's not true.
African Berbers in West Africa.
It's not more. Go ahead.
That's not true. Aren't so-called blacks in the military killing and come back here? They don't get their 40 acres and a mule. They just get a cool glass of Kool-Aid without being told not to do so. What's the difference? Like, you go out there and you kill other people, what he just said, and you come back and you don't get your 40 acres and a mule. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
But he's speaking from an emotional standpoint to gravitate towards people that it sounds good.
Now, when you say emotional people that sounds good, they might be on here. Like, what, you know, what do you mean? Like, how's emotion playing in with something sounding good or not?
When you hear things that you're not able to articulate yourself, and it just sounds like it sounds good, right? It plays on your emotion, on what you're lacking. You don't understand it, so you're listening to something where you think he may understand it, and it sounds good, so you're going to agree with it, not knowing that he doesn't have a nationality. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It just sounds good. And everything is going to sound good until you research it for yourself.
Now you said couple of times I think you brought up about him not having a nationality. What is Moorish nationality? And from your perspective, what is Moorish nationality? You know, like, why did you proclaim your nationality? And could you give a couple convincing examples as to why being a Moor or no?
Islam. So, first of all, the nationality is belonging to something. But to be the proper definition is the quality and character that arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation, right? So what nation do you belong to? The nation that you belong to, that's where you get your foreways, your culture, your language, your very essence. Without a foundation, what are you? And when I came across nationality and what it entails as far as a collective, not me on the individual, as far as me being able to get out of something, me being a part of something greater than myself. And the more that I express that, the better off I'll be. And the benefits that I feel of having a nationality is, one, I'm freeing my mind, brother. Like, I'm freeing my mind, brother. I'm not worried. All the naysayers, I sit here and I laugh at, because I know what's going on. Right? If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I get you more.
Two, like, just going out. When I went out as a black guy, the looks, the treatment that I got from others in society is totally different from when I present myself as what I know I should be. Right? I don't go out to, hey, look at me, I'm a Moor. No. I'm doing that in the inside to myself. You find out something, bro. You know who you are. And can't no one, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, take it away from you. And the only people that can say that is the people who experience what it is to be what they're professing to be. And I can't, it's like I almost can't put it in words, brother. So when the prophet say there's going to be a conflict that you can't put in words, when you find out that you are more, you can't put that in words. You can just be what you are.
That is up. Straight up. That's it right there, yo. Yeah, that's it right there. That is it right there. All you can do is be who you know you are. What's up, more? Give thanks for the session. I don't know if you had any couple if there was any that we didn't touch, if you want to put those ones out.
To be honest with you, more, we don't even have to give him no more energy, bro.
So, we hope somebody learned something. You know what I mean? That's all it's about. Waking up those blind to the facts, giving them a little something. Hopefully, it'll inspire them to study about their Moorish history, their Moorish culture. And, it is what it is. You have any closing out shout outs or plugs or anything?
Indeed, more. I would just like to give thanks to our illustrious prophet. When I found out his teaching, I went to the temple through researching Noble Drew Ali, if that makes sense more. I didn't have to go to a building. I researched the man who founded the temple. So I felt like I was in the temple researching the man who founded it. Right. I just want to give praises to the prophet. I want to give high honors to you, brother, because you keep me sharp, man. That's all I can say. And words can't express. I don't want to not give the appropriate words to give you your praises. And the other shout out is to the master teachers. I'm not going to just name any, because I don't want to forget anybody.
Yeah.
But especially brother Set and Rabe. I appreciate that, brother, and that brother knows why.
Islam. Peace and love to all the Moors. Oh, brother Jeremy, don't worry. We're getting you and the 8-hour the 8-hour study crew. We're gonna get y'all on soon. As soon as I find the video for you Moors to Hulk smash, I'll be getting at y'all so we can have a session. Because all I did is hear that you Moors going. That's all I did. All I did was hear that y'all going. So peace and love to all the Moors, honors to the prophet. You know what I mean? Islam taught the Moors coming into the truth about their nationality and birthrights. Islam taught the studious Moors and the active Moors and all the Moors who love their prophet and love each other. Because we already know if we violate this holy covenant, it's our ass. So peace and love to all Moors. And we shall close out with our closeout. You already know. Islam.
Moorish World TV, huh? More like Asian World TV, you dig? Tired of all these Asian provocateurs slandering the rights.
That's all y'all out. We call all y'all out. Y'all out there.
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Fight them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with the folly, taking you under. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Fight them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with the folly, taking you under. It's a shame, man. You dirty Moors, man. Trying to equate legalese the law, man. How incompetent as you can be. But it ain't no stopping the movement, cause I got the front seat. Better get your mind right. Real Moors ain't about to highlight. Real Moors ain't about to hype. Y'all just looking for the limelight. If you were really studying, you would know who is who and recognize this is Moors. I ain't really think you got that discovered.
Y'all niggas on crazy.
Can you believe it?
Crazy. Yeah, I know this for sure.
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Fight them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with the folly, taking you under. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Fight them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with the folly, taking you under.
It's a shame, man. These dirty Moors, man. Watching all you dirty through the hairs that's crossed, man. Noble Drew, Ali, and Garvey met with Burner Cross, man. We solved the Negro problem with the Circle 7 Koran. Young Pharaoh prostitutes for the Moorish foreign substitutes. Using Sarah suit and mascot for their SETI institutes. Speaking lies, more means black is really from some Greek gods. Masonry is ancient Egypt, watch me speaking sleep spies. Wearing arms, wearing feathers, singing these tunes to you. Afro-8 Sarah, Elena, they couldn't lose to you. All Negro conscious movies, where were you at years ago? While we were studying occult and metaphysical, bet not around. Now you slander, you bums of the town. Spellbound, you dirty Moors from a Washita burial mound. Send you to the background, Moors are in the front ground. Ready to defend the teachers, anywhere is the battleground.
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian.
Yeah, I smell it too.
Watch it, boy. Fight themselves.
What?
I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian too. Yeah. You better watch it, boy. Fight themselves out lurking in the corner. Best with me, they coming with the folly, taking you under. Forget what your cat talks about. Go to RVBasePublications.com. Canaanland Moors on YouTube. Taj Sharif Bay. Kabir Bay. New Nagiel. We now royalty. Ramiel Bay. MoorsDirectory.com. And the list goes on and on. We are for the uplifting and fallen humanity. Real.
As he walked past the city's castle, he interrupted his return and climbed the stone ramp that led to the top of the wall. From there, he could see Africa in the distance. Someone had once told him that it was from there the Moors had come to occupy all of Spain.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. 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 Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
What you looking up for, God? I'm talking to you. Weed smelling like dead bodies, loving a shoot. Baby goats popping out for government checks. To the honorable moms, no disrespect. I'm not talking about the matriarch, but what the deadbeat dad, fake comrade, two-faced nigga, stab you in your back multiple times. Homicides and manslaughter, a friendship on the rise. Watch the gods with pseudo doctrines, big shades. I stay back and listen to old school stay sane. Around the gods, always have a bag of crystals in demons' faces, amethyst missiles. Dirty Moors teach the factors will make you officials. When study is beneficial.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy. Crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Enslaved by your own, didn't listen to prophet. Now you're living in sin. One tube, I can't stop it. You made your bed, lay down. Now you sleep standing. Notwithstanding in a dead status, birthright abandoned. Rather stay dirty instead of turning your card in. Then take your fares off if you're not turning your card in.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Some of these things the young cats doing, or artists of these days are doing, you know what I mean, has nothing to do with the roots of where this thing started from. You know what I mean? It's like they go completely left field. You know what I'm saying? And mumble rap is one of the things that some cats are doing. That's completely left field, because it's like, how do you mumble rap? You know what I'm saying? Part of rapping is being lyrical.
Come on, you still wear hoodies for Trayvon. Death was sacrificial as dad the Mason. Not sure if you knew Satan or been in the coffin, but I know Muslim sons booby trap prints are often pulling carpets from under feet while they morphin'. Acting like L. Jackson, Cosby, and Jordan. With dirty Moors, these Emos don't take enough caution. Playing unity with them and end up on blocks for auction. We told you about conquistador clamps with King Alfred plans to clamp you in camps. Facing vaporization, no oven. Every day of Aquarian years, know thyself coming. You strapped to a mental bed with probe in your head, wishing you would have listened to what the Moor said. Read Ministry of Death surrounded by mourners. The cool breezes knowing rights when streets are saunas.
So how do you even achieve that if you're mumbling your words intentionally? You know what I'm saying? Or you adopt that as a style of mumbling your words. And at the same time, it just shows you how much of the mass public has been dumbed down.
Crystals make souls mischievous. That's when you're lost, trolling black Romans approaching in a wooden horse. No mirror, see a life block button for you guys. Using prophets' lessons I'm seeing through true eyes. Many truths are being revealed to combat true lies. The line in the sand is clear as blue skies. Watch for Jedi mind tricks, divisive weapons. Knowledge is water. Keep that away from gremlins and it's symbolic. Pay attention when you see sevens and recognize the significance of seeing 11s. Take the good with the bad when the world gives you not. Felt the shrooms even with nauseous gut rot. Flow so infinite, finite, comprehend it not. Shooting from the mouth using freedom of thought. Black lives only matter for mug and few shots. Rap got them like zombies, malfunctioning new bots.
You're able to be entertained by things you shouldn't be able to be entertained by. You know what I mean? And that's, hey, I mean, a person impressed by any piece of art or anything is they're gonna be entertained going to the peak of their intelligence.